to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. We thank you, first of all, once again, for the co-creation of this interaction. Anytime you create between your civilization and our civilization such an interaction, it forms a bridge, it forms a link, it forms a tunnel, it forms a new reality, a third reality, an overlapping reality in which we can, more and more every day, interact with each other in many more ways. So we thank you for the gift of allowing us to experience each and every one of you in this way. We would like to now continue the transmission we began last night of your time of counting, that then we entitled Building a Bridge to 2013, as you know time to exist. And now we will continue this transmission with the idea of crossing the bridge to 2013. We remind you briefly of the ideas we spoke of last night of your time, that the whole concept of building this bridge and going, in a sense, through, beyond, past the idea of 2012, the idea of your December 21st winter solstice date that so many people on your planet are focused on as the threshold date, as the tipping of the scales date, going from one idea to another idea, changing your energy, shifting your reality. Well, of course, this has been going on for a little while and will continue a little while beyond that threshold. It's not all going to happen in the blink of an eye necessarily, because you have chosen to experience physical reality as a realm of time and space. Nevertheless, much of the idea of time and space, as we discussed last night of your time, can become more flexible, more accelerated, more malleable, so that you can find many things happening in a shortened amount of time, many different places, in a sense, being experienced in rapid succession, other than the way you used to experience these ideas of getting from place to place. You can now find yourself blinking, in a sense, jumping, in a sense, from place to place a little bit more rapidly as you dissolve and deconstruct the whole idea of physical reality, since physical reality is only your projection of consciousness anyway. But in discussing the idea of going beyond, of spanning over your December 21st, 2012 date, we allow you to focus your sights on the realms beyond, on 2013, on the years beyond that date, so that you can allow yourself to make that leap, not focus so much on every little step, but know that as you allow yourself to simply look past that date, all the details that need to be there will automatically fall into place. You don't have to necessarily watch each and every one. You don't have to necessarily guide each and every one into position, because life already works. The structure already exists. The machine already is on automatic. And all you need to do is allow it to work in the way it was designed to work, to take advantage of the effects that it can have in your physical reality. So allowing yourself the broader perspective, not of the physical mind that is devoted to the focus of minutia, but the higher mind that is devoted to the broader perspective, the farther seeing mind that sees the path laid out where the physical mind cannot, that knows how to get you where you need to go where the physical mind cannot, is the way to align your energy with the ability to move beyond all of those little details and allow them to fall into place automatically, using the machine as it was intended, so to speak. Using the structure of existence as it was designed, so to speak. The idea, therefore, in crossing this bridge is once again to first and foremost let it really sink in that everything is simultaneous. Everything exists here and now. You're not really going anywhere. Everything is coming through you. It's just a shift in perspective. Standing on that metaphorical bridge, and it doesn't even have to be a bridge. If your imagination says that your bridge would rather be a tunnel, that is all well and good, and follow it, because your imagination is key to your specific frequency and will work best for you in giving you the symbols and metaphors, and even some meta-fives, that will work best for you. Allow yourself to alter it as you see fit, because after all, this bridge we are talking about is only a permission slip to allow you to give yourself permission to be more of who you are, to expand your consciousness and expand your awareness in whatever way truly is most aligned with your true core frequency as you were created to be. So in understanding that everything exists here and now, it does not really matter exactly how the metaphor is formed. It can be a bridge. It can be a tunnel. It can be one of your airplanes taking you from one point to another. It can be anything you wish, a road, a path, a waterfall, anything you wish, as long as it embodies the concept that you are, in a sense, going over, leaping over, spanning over all of the little details that many people on your planet are now focused on, and allowing yourself, in spanning over, to let those things fall into place automatically, effortlessly, joyfully, creatively, lovingly, without having to get caught up in the idea that it is an effort and a struggle to allow things to change. It is really just an allowance. And allowing them to change in a way that is aligned with your frequency is the greatest joy of all. Because the whole idea of your choosing to experience physical reality is to really experience the fullness of your being, discovering who and what you really are. Remember, you cannot discover if you don't first forget, and that's why you chose to forget. The idea of coming into physical reality comes with the idea of certain limitations that actually serve you to play a certain game so that you can rediscover pieces of yourself, ideas of yourself, perspectives of yourself from a wholly different point of view. And that discovery, that self-discovery, allows you to also understand more and more about creation itself in the bigger picture. The idea thus is that as you are willing to truly allow yourself to be more of who you are actually putting an energy into reality that allows other people more opportunity to also discover more of who they are. Because once that energy enters your world in a much more highly accelerated way, you allow that vibration, in a sense, to radiate and leak from you, if you wish, and it makes it easier for you, being this broadcast antenna, for others willing to be a more receptive receiver, a more sensitive receiver, to pick up on that frequency, to feel it in the atmosphere, to feel it in the environment, to know that that vibration calls them to themselves, and thus then allows them to know with greater certainty that they do not need to be afraid to explore all of those aspects of their being, that the only thing they will ever discover in the unknown is more and more and more of themselves. So all of this is part and parcel of the idea of crossing this bridge. And as we said, first and foremost, to know that you're not really going anywhere, because everything in creation exists right here, right now. And the crossing of the bridge is really the being of the bridge. The being fully as you possibly can in the moment, in the now, living your life to the fullest, so that in a sense the bridge can move through you. It can span through you. That you can shift your consciousness from parallel world to parallel world, parallel version of Earth to parallel version of Earth, as you do already billions of times per second, but that you can now know you can do it. You can now feel it more. You can have a visceral, tangible experience of the idea that you're always shifting, always creating the idea of space and time as your playground, as your chessboard, as your game board, and that the rules are slightly loosening up to allow you more moves, more opportunity to see farther ahead, many moves ahead, more opportunity thus then to understand that there is great flexibility in the game of physical reality as long as you remain aligned with your true vibration. Does this make sense to you? Yes. All right. The idea thus then, first and foremost, of really crossing that bridge is to allow yourself every single day, every single opportunity to really take a moment to really feel out all those things that are true for you, truly exciting. And as you do this, understand that this is not an issue of just you alone. Even though you are the only thing that exists in your unique universe, and this is true of every one of you, the idea is that there are also other beings. And so the idea of acting in perfect harmony in what is most exciting for you as an individual also takes into account the respect and what works best for all concerned. For you are all pieces in a puzzle picture, and all of you, by being your true self, support the whole. So the idea is that when you allow yourself to play with space and time in certain ways, then whatever the consequences of your choices are, that shall be what you know will serve the whole and you the best. Because you need to look at this more holistically. It's not just about the idea when you follow your excitement, when you follow your bliss, when you act on your highest joy. It's not just about the idea of what's exciting for you. It's about the idea of what's exciting for all, because the one is the all and the all are the one. And so in focusing on the idea of your excitement And in acting on your excitement in the most integrated way, with the idea in mind of everyone else as a holistic picture, taking the higher mind point of view, you will then know that whatever the consequences are, whatever the circumstances are that arise from whatever choices you have made in playing your new space-time game will be exactly what actually serves both the whole and the individual best. It is a balancing act. It is a harmonizing act. It is an allowing act. It is a loving act. It is an expression of unconditional love both for yourself and for all that is, and every single perspective and component of creation. Does this make sense? All right. Now then, in again the idea of crossing this bridge, you will start to feel the concept of more acceleration. Again, this does not mean that you're actually literally accelerating, because you're already going as fast as you possibly can go. You as a being already move in a sense at infinite speed. Everything moves through you in that way. But you regulate it. You allow yourself the perception of certain, shall we say, frames of existence that determines the idea that you call acceleration or slowing down or speeding up. The idea, therefore, is that not you're really going to accelerate, but that you're going to become more aware of the idea of how fast you're already going, how fast the acceleration already exists. More tangibly aware of that infinite speed. And when we say infinite speed, of course, this is a euphemism. We're simply using your language to describe an effect. All these things are just symbols. All these translations are just ideas, perspectives, and reflections of the higher mind mirror, but it is a convenient way to look at these ideas. But you, again, can use your imagination, which is the conduit of communication to your higher mind, to alter these ideas in any way, shape, or form that works best for you. So when we talk about the idea of feeling an acceleration, what we're actually saying is you're becoming more aware of the acceleration that you already exist at, of the rate, the frame rate you're already shifting at. And thus then you give yourself an opportunity to have more conscious awareness, more conscious intention to truly allow yourself to choose the frames, and only the frames, more and more every day, that are most representative, the parallel realities of Earth, more and more every day, that are most representative of your true core vibration. And thus then that can make you, by comparison to what you've been doing, feel like you're accelerating. So the experience of the acceleration you're all talking about now is real. But acceleration itself doesn't exist. It is just an awareness, more awareness of your relationship to the infinite that you're actually picking up on, and that's what you experience. That's what you translate in your reality as the concept, as the experience you call acceleration. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the idea thus then is that all of this in the crossing of the bridge is all about becoming more aware of what is. It's not really about learning to do anything new. You're already doing everything you need to do, mechanically speaking. You already trust 100%. You're already shifting all the time. You don't have to learn to trust. You don't have to learn to shift. You just have to choose what you're trusting in, positive or negative. You just have to know you're already shifting so you can be more consciously aware of what it is you can choose to shift to. But you don't actually have to learn any of the fundamentals. You just need to become more awake and aware of what the fundamentals are that are already in existence so that you can use them as the toolkit that they are for you, so that you can really learn how to use the structure of existence, so that you can begin to truly see it clearly. And in seeing it clearly, allow everything that doesn't fit that structure to fall away as just ideas, just reflections, just permission slips that are not in and of themselves real until you make them real with your definitions and your beliefs. But even when you make them real, so to speak, they don't become any more solid than you believe them to be, because it is only your belief that creates the idea, in a sense, that you call the experience of solidity. Let me tell you actually what solidity, the sensation you call solidity, actually is. You know, and your scientists know on your planet, that nothing is really solid. Even what you call solid matter is only made up, in a sense, of energy, and it is mostly empty space. The idea, therefore, is that even though there are scientific explanations why something feels solid, being the idea of electrons and valence and all of those ideas, those are still only symbols. The true reason why anything in your physical reality which doesn't really exist feels solid, why you have the experience of solidity, is what you're actually feeling literally is your indestructible nature. You cannot be destroyed. That's what solidity is. You have actually used your indestructible nature and imparted that idea, that perspective of your indestructibility as a being, as a consciousness, into your experience of physical materiality to render the idea, the experience of physical reality seemingly solid. But every time you do this, every time you touch something that feels solid, you are actually literally aware, becoming aware, interacting with your indestructible core, your indestructible nature. That is actually you. It's your essence. You are infinite, you are eternal, you exist, so you always will. That which exists cannot become that which does not. The simple answer to understand why that is so is because by definition, non-existence doesn't exist. By definition. That's its quality. Non-existence doesn't exist. That's its quality. Just as existence exists. That's the only quality it has. So if you exist right now, you can never become non-existent. You will change your form, change your expression, change your experience, but you will never cease to exist because you are indestructible. All that is all that is. And that's it. So, get used to the fact that you always exist and relax into the idea of your indestructibility so that you're not in such a hurry, so that you can relax. Because if you know you're eternal, if you know you're infinite, if you know you'll always exist, then anything that needs doing will be done in some way, shape, or form, somehow, somewhere, somewhen. It doesn't all have to be done right now. Of course, even when you do it, it will all be being done right now. Because there is only now. There is only one moment in creation. Everything you think of as a different moment is actually the same moment from a different point of view. But there is only one moment, there is only one place. There is only here, there is only now. The past and future are illusions, and what you call the ideas of past and future are simply simultaneously coexisting parallel realities that all exist right now along with this one. You can make connections to them, and you do so in order to draw upon the information and experience of those realities, even as those lives draw upon your experience to aid and assist and guide them in whatever themes they chose to explore. But it all exists right now. The structure exists in total, completely. What is new, what is always changing, is your relationship to and your perspective of the structure. That's how creation expands. It's the relationship, it's the perspective, it's the point of view that is always in flux. The structure never changes. It is the skeleton upon which you experience all realities, all experiences in any dimension whatsoever. Physical, non-physical, doesn't matter. The structure is the same throughout creation because there is only one moment of creation. And everyone shares that moment in a different way, from a different point of view. That awareness, more of that awareness, will begin to sink into each and every one of you that is truly willing and truly excited about really being, really acting on, really expressing the true core vibration of your natural frequency. So that, again, in crossing this bridge, you will find yourselves more and more every day in every way feeling the acceleration, but you will know, even as you feel it, that that is an experience happening within your consciousness, that you're not really going anywhere because there is nowhere to go to. But you are creating, rippling, creating all those frequencies, all those ideas within your consciousness and experiencing, projecting these ideas as your physical game. And now you are changing some of the rules of those games. You won't change them all, because as long as you choose to be physical, you have to have some parameters, and remember that not all limitations are negative. So you will not give up all the limitations because they guide you. They form a corridor. They form that bridge. They form that tunnel. They form that hallway. They form that path. And within that path, however, you're going to become much, much freer, much more able to truly see as the higher mind sees, to form that true balanced relationship with the higher mind. Not that you will necessarily know how something is going to happen any more than you do right now, because only the higher mind knows that, but you will form a relationship in such a way that your physical mind will begin to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the higher mind always has its best interest at heart, and the physical mind does not have to control everything to make sure that everything is happening exactly the way you want it to. Because you already know that everything is happening exactly the way you need it to serve you and everyone best. Does that make sense? All right. In return this time, thus then, for allowing us to experience the idea of the gift that you are, we ask now how we may serve you with the exchange of questions and answers.
Say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Once again, we will take this opportunity, first of all, to thank each and every one of you for allowing this transmission to occur through this particular window and in this particular method at this time. Once again, each and every time, your civilization allows our civilization to communicate with you in this manner. It affords us an opportunity to experience through each and every one of you another aspect, another facet of the infinite, and this expands our understanding of all the different ways that creation can present itself, and so we thank you for this gift of sharing. We would like to begin this transmission with the following brief ideas to lay a little bit of what you call a foundation or a groundwork for the primary principles that will generally be contained in almost every subject that we will discuss this day of your time. So, many of you have heard us talk about certain tools, certain states of being, certain states of mind that will allow you to understand who and what you are as a person, as a being, as a personality, a little bit more clearly. For it is in understanding the structure and the nature of yourself as a person and as a being that will allow you to make changes, make shifts in your reality, in the manner that you desire, in the manner that you prefer, more effortlessly, with the idea of less pain, more joy. These ideas now are paramount for what you call this age of transition, this age of awareness on your planet, as you have named it, as you have deemed it. And thus we are very happy to help, to assist in presenting concepts, tools that are handy, that you can use very easily, so that when applying them, you can see the results in yourselves and in your physical reality relatively quickly. The idea, first and foremost, of course, always begins with self-valuation. We understand from our experience with many of you that one of the most difficult things that many of you now have to do on your planet is learn to value yourselves. Because for thousands upon thousands of your years, You have been taught, because you have forgotten your connection to the infinite, you have been taught to think of yourselves as less than worthy, as undeserving, as possessing little or no value, and without an understanding of your worth, without an understanding of your value, no tool we would share with you will really be effective. Only when you begin to learn and behave and hold true that you are a worthwhile aspect of the infinite, that you are a beautiful, unconditionally loved and supported aspect of creation, and hold yourself in the same value that the creation holds you in, only really then will the tools be effective in the strongest way possible. This only makes sense, for the tools will only be as strong and as powerful as the energy you give them, because the energy comes from you, through you. Therefore, you are the ones that determine the efficacy of the tools. They do not really have the ability to work of and by themselves, because they draw their energy from you. They draw their realization capability from you. So let us briefly lay down a little bit as an outline of these ideas, so that we will understand when questions come what we are all talking about, and we'll have something to refer back to as a base point, a baseline. First and foremost, as we have said, self-valuation. From there comes the understanding of what it means to be a personality structure. Personality structure, very briefly, in recap for some of you, in newness for others, is based on three things, three principles. Your personality is an artificial construct. Doesn't mean it isn't natural, but it is a type of mask that is built or created or fabricated from three ideas: belief systems, emotions, and behavior. You can understand the analogy of belief systems as being like blueprints of a building. Emotions are the builders, the activation principles and energies that get the building built. The behavior is the building materials, the thoughts and actions that you do. So, you can instantly understand that the nature of the blueprint, the clarity of the design, will determine the ultimate product, and the nature of the builders will determine the quality of the product, and the nature of the building materials will determine the quality of the final building. When those three things are in alignment, you can understand that your reality will reflect the idea of a strong structure, a strong reality that is stable in that way. But if either your belief, blueprint, your emotional builder, or your behavior, building materials, are somehow lacking or out of balance in the idea of self-worth and self-valuation, and are not aligned with the other sides of the three-sided prism, then of course it would be obvious that your building would be, as you would say in your language, a little bit wonky. So, this whole idea is to help clarify what those three components really are all about, and how to maintain them and bring them back into balance. Now, also, it takes an understanding that physical reality is really just a mirror, and it can only reflect what you put out. There are really only 4 laws in creation that allow you to experience everything that you experience. Law number 1 is that you exist. Can't do much about that. Now, when we talk, first of all, about laws, we're not talking about the type of laws that you have on your planet that are, in that sense, arbitrary rules and regulations that can be broken or changed or rewritten or ignored. But the idea is even beyond what many of you call laws of physics, because even some of these are only germane to your particular universal reality, and in other dimensions, many of the so-called laws that you have labeled do not really apply. We are talking about real laws, because real laws cannot be broken. Cannot be broken. It is impossible. And it is these 4 laws that give structure to all of creation. So, as we have said, law number 1, you exist. And what that actually means, when taken out to its ultimate logical understanding, is that if you exist now, you always will. And you always have. Therefore, you may change form, but you will always exist in some way, shape, or form. Because isness is the only quality that existence has. It does not know how to become non-existence. Non-existence is already full of all the things that will never exist, and there is no room in non-existence for that which does exist. That which exists only has one quality, to be, and thus that is the only thing it will always be. So if you do exist, you always will. So relax. Law number 2. The one is the all, and the all are the one. And this simply means that all of the pieces together form the one. And the one is the one, but knows itself simultaneously as all the pieces. What this means is that creation is not separate from the Creator, but is made of the Creator, and that there is no outside to it. Everything that is, every discrete person, place, thing, every discrete concept, every discrete part is a part of one same whole, and also, holographically, every single part is the whole, expressing itself as a part of the whole. So the second law, the one is all, the all are one. Law 3, what you put out is what you get back. Very simple. The energy you give off, based on your beliefs, your emotions, your behaviors, the vibrational frequency you give off is what determines the kind of reality experience you have. Because physical reality doesn't exist except as a reflection of what you strongly believe is true for you. That is all physical reality is. It is literally like a mirror. If you are looking in a mirror and you see your face with a frown on it, you know that you don't go over to the mirror and try to force the reflection to smile. You know that if you want to see the reflection smile, you must smile first. There is no way to change the reflection without you smiling first. But you can also conversely understand that when you decide to smile, the reflection has no choice but to return the smile, because it doesn't have a mind of its own. So the idea to understand is that physical reality very much is really like a mirror. It will not change until you do first. But if you do, it has no choice but to follow suit, because it is only a reflection of what you have put out. Law number 4. Change is the only constant, and everything changes except the first 3 laws. That is it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Every experience you have ever had, are having now, or will ever have, is based on a combination of these 4 laws to varying degrees. That's it. Now, the idea to understand, again, is that when you allow yourself to make choices, then your choices are based on your motivation. And your motivation is based on your definitions. This is the other way to explain the 3-part process. Your behavior, your choices, are based on your motivations, your emotions, which stem from your definitions, which are your beliefs. So anytime you are making a choice, it is always because you have been motivated to make that choice. Motivation only has 2 parts to it. This is all there is to motivation. You will always, in every single case, you will always choose what you perceive to be the choice that is closest to pleasure and furthest from pain. That's it. That is your entire motivational force. But notice I said you will choose what you perceive to be closest to pleasure and furthest from pain. And that's where definitions come in. Because only as you define what you believe to be pleasurable or painful will you then be motivated to make choices in accordance to that belief. So many times you may choose things that on one level you could say seem to be detrimental or destructive to you, but if you keep choosing it, that simply means that you must have a definition in your belief system somewhere that says that regardless of how painful it is to keep choosing that, you are somehow defining it as being less painful than making any other choice. That's why it is so powerful to get in touch with what your belief systems are, because when you find out why you may be defining something as pleasurable or painful, and you change the definition, you will instantly change your motivation, and you will instantly change the choices that you make, because you're all motivated people. None of you lack motivation. None of you lack trust. It's just a matter of where you are placing your trust and what definition you are motivated to act upon. That's all there is to it. This is how you simplify the things in your life, by understanding them from the base on up. From definition through motivation through choice. From belief through emotion through behavior. That's all there is to it, really. The final thing that we will be including in this toolkit is the idea that we have begun to talk about now recently that is above and beyond the idea of belief, and that is simple knowingness, which comes from the idea of surrender, letting go. Now, again, we understand that in many of the definitions many of you have on your planet regarding this word surrender, many of you will label this as a loss of some sort or a lack of control of some sort, and this is not the case. Surrender, if we may provide our definition, is the letting go of the concept of who you think you're supposed to be and actually being who you are. Because who you are is unlimited possibilities. And when you allow yourself to surrender to the idea and the experience that you were created in the image of the infinite, which means you are infinite possibilities too, then the physical reality, which is only a mirror, can then reflect those unlimited possibilities back to you in the synchronicities as they naturally unfold in your physical day-to-day life. So surrender is actually acceptance of your total self, not, in that sense, the forsaking of your total self, as many of you have been led to believe through the definitions that your world has provided you with that only serve to limit you. And this is what we want to share with you, and what we suggest you learn to give up are those limitations. So that is really what we are going to be discussing in all of these interactions. Are variations of those principles. It will usually all come down to that idea. And of course, it will usually also come down to one other principle that is all wrapped up in this, and that has to do with being your natural true self, which in many cases is simply another way of saying follow your joy, follow your excitement to the best of your ability, because the sensation that you call joy, the sensation that you call excitement, the sensation that you call unconditional love is the frequency of energy that represents your natural, true, core, original self. So when you are acting on circumstances and opportunities that bring with them the highest level of this joy, the highest level of excitement, you are saying you have the faith to take the steps to act upon your true self, and in so doing, your physical reality, the mirror, will support you because it has no choice but to do so. These are the principles that comprise the toolkit of manifestation and change, and that's really all there is to it. You will see as we discuss the ideas that you wish to share this day of your time that almost everything you have to share will come down in one way, shape, or form to these ideas, if they has to do with the idea of your own personal growth and your own personal life and the expression of who and what you are. So, with all of that in mind, we once again thank each and every one of you for the opportunity to receive the gift of this sharing from you. And in return for this gift, I ask you now, in what way may I and my world be of service to you? You may begin with sharing in any manner you so desire.
Don't get like what? I didn't hit it. Just you get so angry. That's enough from you. Enough. Enough. Ow! Enough. That's enough. I'm going to give you something to scream about. Get over here. Get up. I can't. I'm talking to you. I can't get it Stop trying! You're not doing it! Integration, integrity, acting in an integrated manner. Now,
when we discuss from time to time that some of you may choose to function in a manner that represents lack of integrity, we are not, in your terms, besmirching your moralistic attitudes. We are simply discussing once again that even though you may have the best of intentions, you may still from time to time, because of your habits, because of your assumptions, because of your beliefs, be acting in a non-integrated manner. That is, still creating separation, still creating segregation, and not pulling yourself together to function as a unified, whole, integrated being in a positive way. Thus, recognize that with regard to the connection of integrity and opportunity, many of you will find that from time to time, again, out of those habits, perhaps out of your choices, perhaps out of your fears, perhaps, many of you will still choose to function in non-integrated ways. And this functioning, this choice, can allow you to not necessarily recognize certain opportunities when and where they may appear all around you in very blatant and obvious ways. Perhaps not obvious to you because you are not focused as an integrated being. We have discussed the idea that if you do in your life what excites you, you will automatically attract all the opportunities necessary for you to act upon that will represent the path you chose to be and will allow you to accelerate in the direction of those things that originally excited you and increase your excitation exponentially. But many of you have made an assumption that these opportunities must leap out at you in very blatant ways, being very noisy. Not so. Recognize an opportunity, by definition, may simply be something you are aware of on a very typical level of awareness. In other words, just because you are aware of its existence, that is an opportunity. To know about something is an opportunity to act on that thing if it excites you to move in that direction. They do not have to come screaming out of the jungle, as you say, in order to get your attention, in order to be recognized by you as an opportunity. Well, here I am. I say I am functioning within integrity, but nothing is jumping out, jumping up and down, making itself obvious. But you may be walking down your street every single day, ignoring the obvious. The fact that you simply are aware that certain individuals and certain institutions already exist in your society that have everything to do with the type of things you want to do, and you simply are not allowing yourself to be willing to know that they do, to see the obvious, and to boldly go and communicate with those individuals simply because you think they have to come running to you. No. They have already come running to you. They have come running to you by allowing you to know they exist. Period. They have put themselves out there. They have made themselves known. The rest is up to you. Yes, sometimes they may act in more blatant ways, but it does not mean that they must in order for you to consider that as an opportunity, that as a representational avenue of the things that excite you. If you are simply aware that something exists, that is reason enough to act upon it. You do not need another invitation. Your awareness of its existence is enough. All that is then left is the willingness that is up to you to determine whether you are truly in synchronous harmony and in full willingness and belief and integrity about the thing you say excites you the most, or whether you are still willing to play the shrinking violet and not want to bother anyone with something that excites you, but, well, you're not sure might excite them. If you don't make yourself known to those that have made themselves known to you, you will never know, because you are not truly acting upon the opportunities that actually do exist all the time, day by day, very blatantly in your society. Many of these things are simply based upon the assumptions that you have been brought up with, the belief systems that have been drummed into you since you were very young. The idea that certain individuals and certain ideas and certain areas are unapproachable. Why? Nothing is unapproachable. Nothing at all. It is up to you to form the integrated spark of awareness, the inspirational leap of cognition, to know that as you walk down what appears to be a very ordinary and mundane street in your cities, in your world, very often all the signs and all the signals and all the opportunities and all the tools that you really have been asking for are all lined up one after another right there every day right in front of you. All you need to do is start going and interacting with those things that have already made themselves extremely obvious. This is what integrity is all about. Acting on every opportunity that makes itself obvious, that is in any way, shape, or form connected to the thing that excites you the most in life. When we say these things will come to you automatically, that does not mean you sit back in your easy chair waiting for them to knock on your door. It means you act upon the opportunities that have already made themselves obvious to you, and then the rest will come in and make themselves obvious as well. But you must act upon what has already been laid upon your table before the next course can be served. You follow me? So allow the obvious to exist all around you. Allow the opportunity that you seek to already be standing, staring you in the face, because many of them are. And you are not willing to recognize them as such because you do not believe them to be such, because they are not acting in expected ways. Pay close attention to the assumptions that you may still make even when you think you understand a metaphysical principle. You may still be clothing it in many of the assumptions of what your society has taught you about how you think it does or does not work. Always, always, it will work in a positive direction for you if you are, in fact, acting upon the opportunities that present themselves with integrity. Always. Many of you have discussed the idea that things do not seem to be moving in a direction you expect. Do not seem to be moving in certain directions when you say, I know I'm functioning within my integrity. I know I am acting upon the opportunities, but I do not see the opportunities come. But that, once again, is simply a matter of degree of perception of different levels in your society. For many levels still exist. And it is up to you, when you center yourself and clear yourself, to recognize that you may yet still be peering through one of those levels and not even knowing that that level exists. Allow yourself to recognize the obvious. For many times, because of what you have created your society to be, the truly obvious is not obvious to you at all. Allow yourselves to relax your definitions about what you think a principle is all about, what you think a definition is all about. Incorporate and integrate a broader spectrum of definitions in all that you do. You are surrounded by the abundance that you seek. All you need to do is see it for what it is. At this timing, once again, we extend to each and every one of you our unbridled joy at being allowed to interact with the facets of reality that you have created yourselves to be. For you are all unique, and everything you have ever done, inside and outside of integrity, has all been a part of your learning experience and adds to the whole energy that you are now creating yourselves to be in the fashion you are creating. We thank you for your willingness to create the endeavors you have created, to create yourselves to be who you are. You are cherished by many. We extend our unconditional appreciation and love to you for being willing to interact with us and co-create this interaction in this way to further the integration of your society and the respective societies within our association of worlds. And in